Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cultivating Collaboration at Advantage. My name is Sean. I'm the founder of Advantage, and I have Mark Jamnick, my good buddy and friend, joining us from somewhere in the universe. Mark, what are your satellite GPS coordinates? Tell us.
I don't know what my GPS or my latitude and longitude is, but I'm in Western Pennsylvania.
Western Pennsylvania.
In Monroeville, actually in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, about 15 minutes away from where I grew up. So it's a fun little homecoming. It's the first time I've been home in over a year and a half, so it was really cool.
Awesome. It's always good to go home, huh? And
yes, it is.
Enjoying the connections. Wonderful. What's new? What's new with you?
Oh, man, just a lot of stuff happening. I know we had a chance to connect a little earlier this week, and I really love having an opportunity to catch back up with you and what you're up to and where I'm at. I have the van in Bend, Oregon, and so I hopped on a plane, the first plane that I've been on last week to go up to Vermont. Went to a mastermind retreat where we were basically looking at our future casting our vision for the next year. Where do we want to be? Looking backwards, how do we accomplish this year? So it's a really cool thing. We've been doing it now for 5 years. We missed obviously last year because we always got together in person, but obviously last year that was not the case. And so it was really great to see all the guys again. And again, talk about the vision and really think about where it is and being very intentional. So I'm excited about what this year is all about. I'm learning a lot of things. I'm actually shedding some old stories that I just realized were running underneath the surface that I didn't even know. So I'm really excited about addressing that. And again, being very, very intentional inside of it all. And then the other quick thing, and I'll end with this too, is this idea or this insight that I had around when I was sharing a lot of things on Instagram or my YouTube channel. I was like, am I doing this to share, or am I doing this to like kind of quote unquote brag? And I'm like, I'm going to reassess this. And I know that there's all this thing that we need to do on social media. And I'm like, I don't know how authentic this is for me to be able to say like, oh, hey, here's where I'm at now. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes to make all this stuff work. And I'm just like, this part of the trip, I'm just being mindful and being present with what situations are in front of me. So that's really the quick update of where I'm at, and reassessing always, reanalyzing, and really just being honest and being authentic with myself as I continue to explore and learn more about that. So
awesome.
That's a quick update.
Fantastic. For those who don't know, Mark has started this van life journey, and that's what he's referring to about the posting and keeping everyone updated. Awesome. That's great to hear. And, we're kind of doing the same thing. We're excited about launching our new, what we call Business Builder Sprint, which is we're going to bring in a key select group of our members, and we're going to everyone literally bring in their problems and the business challenges to some sort of it's a mastermind / sprint, a 3-month sprint that we're going to start. And you bring in the problems and you solve in a collaborative fashion, which is really the true essence of what we're building, what our community is, what our platform is. And one of the things we've done is we've kind of honed in the problems that we're looking to solve, and we've now really narrowed it down to 4 categories: marketing, tech, content, and what we call business operations or scale. And, everybody needs marketing. You need social media, online, paid Google ads, Facebook, radio, which we'll get to.
Podcast.
Yes, podcasting. So that's one that we bring in people together to solve collaboratively. Technology, all of us nowadays need a great website that's mobile responsive, that has a blog page. And so handling your tech problems, that's another reason people come to join our community, to solve that collaboratively. And content is another one that we're going to get into pretty heavily today. But we all need content. Businesses, you constantly need to crank out, blogs and copywriting and editing and videos and podcasts. So, and then lastly, the scaling or the operations is because we're all small business owners, and the size we're kind of focusing is 1 to 6 or 7 employees. So solopreneurs to micro businesses. we all need help. We have skills and expertise that we can share. So, things like bookkeeping, attorney, virtual assistants, coaching, things like that helps you scale and grow your business. So that's where our focus is going to be during that 3 months sprint that we're business builder sprint that we're starting. So I'm looking forward to that, to connect with some of our key members and maybe about a dozen or so to kind of go through that exercise and hone in. And speaking of content and marketing and podcasts and coaching, I have the legend herself here. we asked Karen. Obviously, she's the executive director, or what's the title?
I own Phoenix Business Radio.
She's the owner of Phoenix Business Radio that runs, and she's one of the staples of our community, and she helps small businesses and entrepreneurs get their message out there. So we truly appreciate that. We're really honored to have you not only as part of our community, part of our platform, but also allowing us to use your studio to conduct this podcast. So it's been a pleasure, and it's even a more pleasure to have you now today on the other side as a guest.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. I'm going to do a quick bio here for people that that happen to not know Karen. Most everybody knows, but Karen, she's the ultimate problem solver and solution provider. That her natural strength is understanding what you need and how to make it reality. With advanced training and certifications in facilitative leadership, organizational development, trauma integration, integrative coaching, Karen knows the business of business as well as the business of people. And no matter what, if you're building an industry influence, client relationships, or working on how to grow or scale your business, Karen is dedicated in helping you build your success puzzle while showing you the hidden opportunities that await you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got it started with Phoenix Business Radio.
Sure. So grew up believing that I was going to be an educator my whole life and really envisioned that in the classroom. So early in my career, I was a third grade teacher in the Kyrene School District and very quickly became an assistant principal. Opened the first business school partnership between Kyrene and Intel. For those of you in the East Valley, right on Chandler Boulevard, they donated the land, but they were looking for educators and business people. And so I became the assistant principal when we opened that school. I got to do a year in planning at the district office. And part of what was cool for me at that time, I was a young mom. Actually, I think when I was hired, I hadn't even had kids yet, but I was 29, 30, whatever. 2 summers when all the rest of the staff is, taking a break, as administrators, we got to have paid internships at Intel. And so at the time I was trying to decide, did I want to become a principal? And if so, I need to have the leadership degree, my master's in educational leadership. But those 2 internships changed my life. I realized that I could have a voice at the table when it came to talking business, just based on my skill set, partly natural, but also everything that I put into my own training over the years around inter and intrapersonal communication. So the way we talk to ourselves and the way we talk to each other and how do we hold each other accountable, a lot like this sprint that you're talking about. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, right? Just that conversation, the mastermind, and then holding each other accountable. So I was really good at that. And so instead of getting my educational leadership master's degree, I went for organizational development. And then shortly after that, found myself opening my own coaching practice, which I've been doing for almost 13 years. And then 4 years ago, while the referrals were still great for my coaching practice, both in business and in high performance, I knew I needed to no longer rely on just referrals, just word of mouth, because I wanted to scale it. And I'm sure some of you can relate to this. When business is good and you've got people right in front of you and you're busy, sometimes we forget to continue to have other people coming into the business.
The pipeline, right?
Yes, to prime the pipeline. And so I was finding that was happening for me. And the higher caliber of professionals that were hiring me as their coach, they were less frequently referring me. And it's not because I wasn't doing a great job for them. I was doing an even better job for them because I can relate to them. It's because they had so much pride in who they are and didn't want to tell somebody that they had a secret weapon in their pocket. So marketing became necessary. That's how I landed on Business RadioX. My coach at the time suggested that I just start a podcast, and I thought, ugh, I don't want to do podcasts. While I love to be in the front of the room and I love to talk and I'm a speaker, I couldn't see having to come up with content every time I did a podcast and have it be the All About Karen show. And so I came across Business RadioX. It's not a franchise, but I'm a licensed partner. So for those of you outside the state of Arizona, if, as we talk today, you're interested, there are opportunities for you to join us. And I just made a commitment to be a licensed partner. It's been 4 years and over 2,000 shows, I think, some of which are mine. But as many are my clients. Arizona Tech Council does our show with us, Conscious Capital of Arizona, Local First Arizona, and several independent business owners, as well as Avantage, come and they hire me and now my studio producer, Daryl, to help produce and create a winning show. That's not the point with that is it's not about Sean. You'll notice that today, or Mark. It's him shining the spotlight on his guests.
And the guests.
And that's our sweet spot in all the shows that we do.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of value. The way you're approaching it, it's highlighting the guest and making that all about them. What would you say the biggest hurdle? We're all entrepreneurs, we're business owners. Growth is, and I should qualify that, we're growth-minded entrepreneurs. Some people they just like to do their gig and they're just happy with what they got and they got the lifestyle business. But then there's certain people that they want to grow and scale their business. And that's really our target audience, what I call our peeps. What would you say the biggest hurdles for people that are trying to grow their business and scale it? Not just grow, but also scale, build the infrastructure around it.
Getting out of your own way.
Well said.
Right? We're so used to, as business owners and entrepreneurs, doing everything ourselves for as long as we need to. And for me, for this particular business of mine, it's been a 4-year build. I've had to do everything myself, partly because there wasn't enough income coming in, and I didn't go out and find investors, that sort of thing. It was just a very lean startup. But then at the point where I realized I was getting in my own way and also no longer enjoying my life outside of running my businesses, I had to start to look, who can I hire? What can I take off my plate? Knowing that even though the training sometimes takes time and, of course, more investment. Daryl's smiling and looking at me because he's been with me for 2 months now, and he's like, I know, we've been there. But being able to do that, and one of the magical things that Daryl and I are doing, so you had talked about your mastermind group and this 30-day sprint. It's a 30-day?
Actually, 90 days.
Sorry, 90-day sprint.
Right.
You described kind of who your Avantage members are that would be really a good fit for that, and I think your overall Avantage community as well is typically 1 to 6
correct
folks. That's me. So I've got Daryl full-time. I have a producer who handles the mastering of our audio content. And then I have a VA who handles all of our uploading things to our website, social media person. So I am you, right?
Exactly.
I am this community. And I've also run and sold several other businesses. The most recent one was $99 Social. I was the COO for that before I opened Business RadioX, and we sold it and it was very lucrative. So I know how to scale. I know how to help those of us who are so passionate about what we're doing stay passionate about it and hire people to do the tasks that we're not good at. And we've all heard it before, right? This is not new stuff, but really getting out of our own way often means that we have to address some of the underbelly challenges in our thinking and our limiting behaviors and habits. And that's the piece that I help both in this business and in my coaching practice.
And it's amazing when you have experts helping you, everything becomes more pleasant. Frustrations where you're trying to get something done right, but because it's not your forte, it just doesn't come out the way you want it. But if you have those help, the team that you can build around you, it makes the entire experience more pleasant.
And that makes me think of something, Mark, that you said. Mark, you just spent time with I'm going to call it a mastermind. I missed what you said. But again, casting into the future, that's equally important. Not only do you have to find the right people on your immediate team, whether they're contractors and they're part-time or full-time, doesn't matter. Start taking things off your plate And even though I'm pretty savvy and I could look at anybody else's business and give them some thought and really set them on a pace for success a lot faster than they might be able to see themselves, we get stuck in the weeds ourselves. So I have a coach. I have to have somebody guiding me. You mentioned the expert, right? Mark's an expert, but he also relies on other people to help influence and shape and hold him accountable to his dreams. And so I think it's two things. Take things off your plate, get out of your own way, and be willing to listen to somebody who's gone before you and knows what to do so that you can, look at it through that lens and just show up and do it.
That's great advice.
And so, one of the things just to kind of build off of that is, what are some of the most important factors that you look at from a business perspective, from a leadership perspective? Because, it's always, as a leader, I heard this years ago, leaders need to push from the front or lead from the front and push from behind. And there's that whole aspect of leadership that you can't do it all, right? And so there's that place. What are some of those pieces? And there's the word successful, and I feel like there's a lot of different ways that people can achieve that. And so I think as you're going to answer this question or think about success to you, for those that are listening, what does success mean for you? For some, it's a huge lucrative sell, right? And for others, it's having this lifestyle. So kind of like the question is, what do the business and leaders need to do to be successful? And again, kind of your own version of success.
I love it. So
Hopefully that makes sense.
I think it does, and steer me in a different direction if not. You said it in teeing up the question. What defining your level of success is what's most important, because at the end of the day, if someone is telling you what success looks like and you're trying to fit into that box, you're likely going to be disappointed or quite possibly fail. So success does have different measures. It's financial, it's for me, it's a lifestyle business so that I can still enjoy my time with my family. And I'm running two businesses simultaneously that are, require a lot of my time. So me having time for meditation and yoga and all the things I love to do that no one's, I'm not listening or talking to anybody. It's just Karen in silence is very important to me. And so that for me is a measure of success. Am I getting enough time to step away? Am I peaceful and happy when I'm with my kids? That's critical to me. Am I seeing my friends that I've known since high school and grade school in every sense, right? And the financial for me, I'll tell you that for the 15 years that I've been in business for myself, that's been a struggle for me to really own success at a really high level. I mean, I've made a lot of money over the years, but then I've also not made a lot of money. And that's this next iteration of my leadership and my successes, and why I have hired a coach to really focus on the sales aspect of my business, being very clear about my messaging, hitting those goals and those marks on the financial end of things, because at least for me, everything else in my life is working at a high level of success. Did that answer that, Mark?
Absolutely, yeah, and I didn't intend to step on in the teeing up, because I just feel like so often this success thing is just so discussed that okay, it's got to be a certain way. So thank you for that. And then you just mentioned something there which was really powerful about this area that you want to grow inside in terms of finances or financial success, and that you've done well, and there's been times where you haven't, and that's really an area you want to focus on. And so this question is really about being intentional and being authentic, because everyone's like, oh yeah, everything's going great, and right, it's the whole fake it till you make it, which I think is a long overdue. I think it's an old cliche that I don't think works anymore. I don't believe in the way that is actually operating now in society. So how do you align those two things of intentionality and authenticity, and what are some of your ideas or principles around that?
Yeah, that's the big elephant in the room, I think. And everybody who's looking at marketing and everything we read on LinkedIn or articles, storytelling is really the way that we're doing digital marketing these days, which is why Business RadioX is such a massive success, because that's what we're doing. Kitty and I are here to tell our stories, and at some point everybody's going to ask questions. We do that day in, day out. But when you're trying to make sure that you are being authentic, but also intentional, right? Do you want to share all your wounds and all of your scars and bruises? I've done that to some degree. If those of you that have followed me on social media, I've been through hell and back for a year and a half now. My recent ex-husband attempted suicide in October 2019, and I was already very visible and out there in the business community and have always been very authentic about the struggles I've experienced, whether it was depression or, just starting up a business or selling or whatever going on with my kids. And when Mike landed in the hospital for a month in the trauma intensive care unit, within 2 days, I am a very soulful, spiritual person. I was very clear that I was really being called to continue to stand in authenticity as a business leader dealing with massive chaos and trauma. I think, again, Mark, to reflect on the way you asked this question, not everybody has to have a big tragedy behind them to speak to. I certainly would not wish that on anybody, but it happened to me and to us as a family. I'm very involved in my clients' lives, and it would have been inappropriate for me to pretend like everything was fine. And I didn't have an option to shut it down, close the door, and go curl up in a ball for 2 years. It just wasn't an option. Thankfully, I have the skill sets and a whole life, both professionally and personally, towards professional growth and just, again, that inter and intrapersonal communication that has become the fiber of the being of who I am and how I work with clients, that I knew how to strike that right balance between being authentic, sharing my story, and also being intentional about taking care of Karen first, making sure I was respectful of Mike and his journey in recovery, and hopefully adding some value to people who are paying attention to what's going on in business as well as their own personal life. And I will tell you, as a result of having very candidly sharing my journey for the time that I did, and I still do, I know of 8 lives that I've saved by sharing and telling my story as it was happening, again, with those ground rules, taking care of Karen first, taking care of Mike as well, not letting it be, a story or a grandstand just for the sake of, story and this and that. So that's what I help people do here in the studio and in my coaching practice is what is your story? What's your story of the past? What is your current? Where are your feet right now? And where are you looking to go? Let's get intentional about how you share that story and shed away any of the adaptations that are holding you back, so that you can be really clear that the story is separate from who you are now, and it's the way in which you tell it that becomes magical and helpful to other people. I know it's a very long-winded answer. I hope that hit the mark for you.
No, that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And to me, that's success. One of the definitions of success is having that impact, how you impacted your community and the people around you. So that's absolutely commended, and thank you for sharing that. I want to bring Kitty. She's been sitting here patiently with us, but Kitty's been. First of all, welcome. Good to see you. You want to
welcome, Kitty.
Yes.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah, Kitty's been one of the amazing members are what we call Avantees. She's been part of the community for a long time. She's one of the most popular one, both in terms of her skills and talent that she offers, but also whenever she does presentations, it seems to be pretty invigorating with our community. They get a lot of engagement, yes. And guess what? She is in grammar. So
commas are so popular.
Right. She's I'm going to do a quick intro here, or your bio. So the name of her business is Grammatical Activist, and she offers copywriting services for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. And she's considered by some to have a black belt in English. Wow, black belt in English.
I've been told that.
That is awesome.
Be sure to come up on that mic, Kitty. Daryl, can you bring her up a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of, you want to literally touch it. So Kitty has a passion for polishing people's professional message and specializes in helping successful, driven people achieve great things by improving their message when they do not have the time or the ability to focus on anything other than providing their services and products. She enjoys reviewing clients' communications and translating them into impactful professional statements. Wonderful. Great to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate that, the opportunity to be here and kind of share my story a little bit too, like Karen did. And I want to touch, if I can, really quickly on a couple of things that Karen mentioned. One of which is when she was just talking about her story with her ex-husband. I think for all of us, it's also in how we react to things. So not, like Mark was talking about the fake it till you make it and how that's really outdated, which I totally agree with. But not putting it out there that everything's okay, but okay, even if you can't handle it in necessarily a calm and peaceful way when there is chaos. But I think that there's a lesson in that for all of us as to how we take care of that kind of thing. How we react, how we handle it. Do we reach out for help? Because so many of us just don't reach out for help. And I think that that's really important to know that it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. But especially if you're a solopreneur sometimes, or a single mom, it can be difficult to ask for help. And I think it doesn't make you weak. And then, go ahead, John.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say then too, to speak to the success. What a surprise! But I've written an article about success. Sometimes when people are talking, I'm like, hey, I've written an article about that. But I was, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, 10 years ago maybe, I was told that I wasn't successful unless I brought home a W-2, unless I worked a 9 to 5, unless, I fit into all these little boxes, kind of like what Karen was saying. And you know what? I still don't bring home a W-2 because that's not the kind of work I do. That's not the kind of career I have. But that has nothing to do with whether I'm successful or not. And so I think it's really key also to home in on those things that we deem are successful to us. So do I want to make, enough money to pay my bills? Absolutely. Do I want to be there for my kids? Without question. So if I can do all the things that I lay out, in terms of being successful, that's really key for me. So I think it's a good read, my article. So if you want to, it's published on LinkedIn. So check out my profile on LinkedIn. Definitely send me a connection request as well. I'd love to hear from, everyone who's listening.
Absolutely. We'll definitely make sure to give out all the ways to people to reach you at the end of the show. One thing I want to say about that asking for help thing, because you really hit a nerve with, I think, a lot of people and me, myself, including. And that was actually one of the driving factors that I created Advantage, because it's always been hard for me to ask for help. Just that's a trait I guess I have. And I've been working on it and I've been trying to, become better at it. But being amongst a collaborative, officially being on a platform that this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to collaborate and ask for help and help others. It just formalizes and removes a little bit of, maybe the breaks the ice. So now you feel more comfortable because we have the trade credit system on our platform. So there's a little bit of okay, you don't feel bad. You're getting someone's expertise. And then when you help someone, there's a reward, there's points that trade credits that you get. So that is such a, I think, universal thing with a lot of, especially entrepreneurs, because naturally we are kind of go-getters or do it myself. Oh, I can do it better than, the other person, or I know how to solve this. So there's a lot of that. So that to develop that soft skill of how to ask for help without being, being tactful and not being overly, whatever the word is. So it's definitely something that it takes honing in and getting used to and comfortable. And I think that's one of the things that our platform, or at least one of our mission, is to allow people to help one another and ask for help.
Exactly. And I think too that it's still something that I struggle with, but I'm aware of it, and I'm much better than I used to be. I mean, there was nothing that I would ask for help with. And now I'm fine with asking for help. So it's,
just use the word collaborate, and all of a sudden it's not
hey,
asking
can
for
you
help.
collaborate and open this jar of pickles for me?
Yeah, can you collaborate?
Beautiful. Kitty, thank you so much for sharing that. And I have to just give a huge plug to Kitty. I mean, I've had an opportunity to work with you, and I know how much you love what you do, and it just really rings true. And so excited to see you here and just continue to see that you didn't want to just go back for that W-2 because you really do have this drive and this passion for what it is that you do. And just a real quick result, like one of the things that she went through, and she looked at a bunch of different blogs that I had written, and there was one that did really well, actually, drive and determination. So if you actually type in drive and determination in Google, I'm like the second one that pops up, and Kitty was able to help get me up a little bit more in the SEO rankings. So anyhow, it's just a kind of a fun little tidbit. That all being said, you were just talking about asking for help and all of those things, and being able to really do that now. And if you ever need pickles, if I'm in the area, I could open up the jar of pickles for you.
I will take you up.
But I'm conveniently across the United States, so that's not going to happen.
In my home state, actually, Lancaster County,
Okay.
so closer to
Oh,
Hershey.
nice. Oh, okay, cool. All right, awesome. So the question that I have here is, leading up to all this here, what is the biggest challenge you have as an editor, as you've really kind of taken on this, because you're really good at what you do. And so what are some of the challenges that you face as an editor?
Well, quite frankly, it is one of the things that Sean mentioned in the beginning, which is the marketing. I'm really bad at tooting my own horn. So letting people know, hey, I'm over here. It's kind of like that. I would say probably 97% of my freelance business is through referrals, which I think is a pretty good rate. It's still pretty sporadic as a freelancer. Being able to work on that marketing aspect has been a really big challenge, and obviously being on a platform like Avantage is helpful because I can put my bio up there, leave it up there, put different offers. I've had much better luck actually with doing custom offers on Avantage, but I do that for all my clients anyway, not just through Avantage. So if somebody contacts me and wants me to, edit their manuscript, for instance, they might also have some social media posts that they want to go along with that, or because they're working on their brand, they mention their LinkedIn profile. Well, I can, take care of that too. And like you mentioned with the SEO, I can optimize their current content, optimize their LinkedIn profile, all of those kinds of things that people don't necessarily think about, that they'll just put it out there and do it. And so my reaching out to those people who obviously need my services, let's get real. Have you seen some websites out there? Come on, people. Anyway,
do you have a website?
She's getting on her soapbox here. We're gonna have some commas and question marks coming up here.
Well,
I've become very judgmental since I've been through some Kitty's trainings. I do look at people, and I said, "Oh, come on, guys, you need to hire Kitty, or at least learn how to
just
write."
refer them to me.
Right.
Come on. But
I see
really,
it so much more often.
it makes you more relevant.
Yeah, because when you buy as a kid, when your dad bought a certain type of car, and all of a sudden you notice there's so many of that car. What's that phenomenon called?
The Reticular Activity
I was just
Center.
going to say,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now I've become, because I've been through your courses, educational presentations, I've become that. And while I'm kind of doing the talking here, I have another question that then you can kind of roll it into. The whole concept of editing and writing and proofreading. Talk about the difference of that there, but also when your clients come to you and because I get nervous. I write something, an email or an article, and I give it to someone to either proof it or even have someone write an article for me, or write a blog. I still want to keep my voice. I want to keep our brand, our business, and that's an art. How do you do that to build that trust with your clients, but also keep their voice in their whatever the piece of message they're trying to send?
Yeah, that's a really important question because whether I'm writing or editing for a client, my intent first and foremost is always to keep their voice, and that actually involves facilitating and maintaining a relationship with the client, because you need to know not necessarily how they speak, that kind of a voice, but their message that is underlying that
The
content.
brand, right?
Yeah. And so just kind of focusing in on their message and how they feel, even how they feel about stuff. I know this may sound touchy feely kind of thing for just content. Ooh. Anyway, it's something that is really important to me, and what I'm known for actually as well is writing and editing in the client's voice. I've had people say to me actually that they don't want anyone to edit their content because it's going to change the way the wording is. So I had a manuscript I edited a few months ago. She didn't like her first editor for her first book because she said they just changed everything. Like, the way people were talking, there were no contractions used, like can't, don't, that type of thing. It was all correct grammatically. And as I've mentioned in my previous presentations on Avantage, it's about tone, so there's definitely a formal tone you can take with some content, like a mortuary service, obviously, or an academic paper. But if you're selling party supplies or, having a festival, having that conversation and that content be more conversational is really key. So it really depends on the context and the client and their audience as well. So, and one of the things, this can be difficult to find that client's voice if they don't already have content written that they like. So even if they know it needs edited, if they don't have any current content, it takes a little bit longer for me to figure out what their voice is. But even if it's a stream of consciousness writing, I can work with that because that at least tells me their passion comes out. I mean, I know that I did some work for you, Mark, and like you mentioned, and I mean, the passion for the travel and the adventures totally came out in the things that you've written. And even with Sean, about Avantage and collaborating, I mean, there were a lot of keywords that come out when I have discussions with people that stick with me. And as I'm having those meetings, I write those down, and those words make it into their content because that's what's basically emanating from them, for lack of a better term. So, and then the different, just touch real quickly on the difference between proofreading and editing. I mean, proofreading, you're just basically making sure there are periods after every sentence. The first word in a sentence is capitalized, and it's still invaluable. But a lot of that can be picked up by Grammarly or even Word, in Word, how they have that, that feature. But the copy editing or editing, line editing, developmental editing, all of those things dive a lot deeper to look at consistency and flow, grammatical correctness. I mean, you can't have, in one case, like when I was editing a manuscript, an oar broke in a boat, but in the very next, I think it was like 2 paragraphs later, they were using the oar as if it had never been broken. Well, they know what they want to say in their head, but it's like, okay, you can't just magically have this oar be fixed. Like, did they find a piece of driftwood? Let's change it up a little bit. And so I make those kinds of suggestions. And that's not just in manuscripts, obviously. It's in your website content, in your LinkedIn profile. Having those segues and those transitions is really important to making sure that your message is professional.
And you're telling a story. I think the more and more I realize we all listen and pay more attention if something is said in a kind of a sequential storytelling journey type thing versus just boom, fact,
Well, actually, it depends on your audience. So it does depend. But if you're talking, they don't want bullet points necessarily. But if it's content, sometimes that is what they want. So it really does depend on the audience too.
Talking.
Hey, I know Daniel he's been very active in the chat, which is awesome. Thank you, Daniel. And he just asked a question before we shift over to Karen, because I think this is a good one here to talk a little bit more about. Do you believe blogging will be needed for the next 5 years in regards to SEO for each business? And then why is it then why is that when video is becoming king? So can you kind of just address a little bit about the blogging piece and how that relates on the SEO side?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I do not believe whatsoever that it has to be one or the other. I think they work great in tandem with each other, as well as things like podcasts. And, there are a lot of different media. It can be a mixed media content for any business, pretty much. I think the key with the video and the written content, though, in particular, is to optimize it, because you can optimize your videos so that people find those, just like you said when your article comes up. When I was making sure that your content was optimized, we want to make sure that that comes up in a search engine result. So you can do that with video as well as the written content. And I mean, I don't know what the future holds, as far as there could be something completely different that comes out, in 5 years. But the way I see it, the landscape now, absolutely blogging is really important because of that voice that we were just talking about. It's going to let people know if they can relate to you, if they want to buy your products or your services. And if they don't know who you are, what you stand for, all that company culture, which I actually write a lot about for another client, that's important to people. And I'm finding through my research, because of this writing that I'm doing for this other client, it's becoming even much more important with the younger generation, which I find very encouraging personally. So making sure that people are, environmentally conscious, for instance, or really in tune with, volunteerism, whatever the case may be, no one's going to know that if you don't blog about it. They can't read your mind. So you have to get that out there, and having videos about what it is you're doing, as long as it's optimized, I think that they work really great together.
Could I plus one that as well? I think we also have to look at what do our customers and clients move to for their learning, right? So video, we know Google and social media loves video, right? But not everybody has time to sit and watch a video, right? Some people much more prefer to read because they enjoy reading, or they like to listen. And so yes, to kind of just add on to your point, I don't know that it'll ever go away. Certainly something else might come, but I think blogging is here to stay, or at least written content. Maybe we won't call it blogs down the road, but written content still holds a lot of weight and gold, as do all these other various opportunities to put content out there. And you got to know who you're speaking to and where they go for their information,
and have it on all of those platforms because of that. So that's really key. Yeah.
And I think it's going to keep growing. Part of it is you have to kind of think, okay, yeah, blog is a general term that means any kind of a written piece of content. But for what purpose does that your content, if it's a how-to kind of thing, yeah, video is probably a better fit to learn how to do something, to show. But if you're trying to kind of drive a concept and kind of talk about something at a higher level, that's a written word is always way to go, or build company culture, things like that. So, and I know, Karen, you're about to get started working with Kitty on some projects, right?
I am. Yeah. Kitty and I did an initial consultation. We met through Vonage, of course. And embarrassingly, I'm going to say it was probably April, maybe. And then I had to take some time off and do some travel and get Daryl trained up. But we had a wonderful initial consultation. And I was listening for everything that you've verified today and sharing with our broader audience. I wanted to hire somebody who really wanted to understand my voice and my message. And I'm fairly unique because I run these two businesses, and it's very important to me that the soulful aspect of how I work with people comes in there, but also not to turn anybody off if it's too, people might feel like it's too woo and not even give it a chance. And Kitty got that right away. So now she's just waiting for me to say, let's do this. But we are doing it. And I'm grateful for Vonage, because I don't know that I would have found her Yeah.
Because I am not good at marketing.
Well,
That's
we're
why.
gonna change.
That's why you wouldn't have found me.
There you go. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and that's what this is about. Yeah, she's written several articles for us. She redid our LinkedIn. I don't know if you had her review your LinkedIn page.
No, I think she looked at it, but we haven't
pretty
talked about it yet.
amazing
Yeah.
because, like Mark said, she does this magic that it actually shows up on SEO better, and it's just looks so much cleaner and better. So. Looking forward to see you two
Yes.
collaborate.
Yeah, maybe we could do a part 2 once she's cleaned all my stuff up.
Before and after.
Yeah, right? Yes,
There you go.
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, and this is all kind of just it tends to go back to the whole collaboration piece. And this is one of the things that I know you've heard me say, Sean, before, and I'll just continue to say it again. And that is that this is a relay race. And I was able to take some keywords that I got from another Advantage member, hand those to Kitty so that she could do her magic because she understands SEO. She was able to understand the keywords. She was then able to do that so that I can then get this information out there. And so, now here we are. I'm not sure exactly what all things Karen is going to have Kitty do. There's certain things that Karen can do. There's certain things that she can't do. And Kitty can help bring her and bridge that gap inside of it. So, that's obviously the reason that this is called what it is, and also just kind of seeing it all beautifully tied together. And what the Advantage community is really all about is really what we're here to share with more for others. That again, Kitty is incredibly talented. Karen is incredibly talented in what she does. And so how do we take that and put it out there in the world? Because again, there's unfortunately too many Kitties out there that might not be good at the marketing side and can't get known. So that's why we're here, and why we wanted to highlight some of the things that the Kitty can do and others in our community that really benefit us all, so that rising tide rises all ships.
Well said, Mark. Always very eloquent, Mark.
Of course, it was Mark.
Yes.
Did someone write that for you, Mark?
No, I'm gonna have to get the transcript, and then you can take that, and I know that you'll make it sound like me.
It's funny that you say that. This morning, coming into the studio, knowing I was going to be a guest today, and then I host 2 shows later, there was a guest on one of our shows called Tycoons of Small Biz, and I was so impressed with how he spoke, and we kind of do something similar. I was listening to his podcast today, and I will listen to it again several times to hear it and then make it my own. I mean, it's not plagiarizing technically, but there's no new thought, right? So when we hear something, why wouldn't we, or we read something, why wouldn't we go, wow, this really spoke to me. How can I make this my own? And if I can't do it, then, I'll have Kitty in my corner helping me do it.
Oh, absolutely. I firmly believe that you can learn from others. That's what the coaches are, and that's what teachers and mentors and
Advantage.
people, our colleagues. So appreciate you guys. What an amazing show. I do want to kind of make sure everyone has your contact, how to reach you. So Kitty, let's start with you. How to, if someone needed your wonderful services, what are the many ways they can reach you?
Well, they can email me directly at k.carlisle.writer@gmail.com. I also have a website, which is grammaticalactivist.com, and there's a contact form on that page as well. And I mentioned earlier about connecting through LinkedIn, so absolutely send me a connection request, and make sure you note on there that you heard me through this podcast so that I know where you're coming from. And I'd love to hear from you, and let me know how I can help your business or your book or your academic paper, whatever it is. As long as it involves the English language, I can help you.
Awesome. While we're on you, anything exciting? Anything you're looking forward to? Projects? Anything you're working on?
I actually am working on a pretty big project right now, speaking of LinkedIn, for an international company that has hired me to present webinars. So pretty much 3 webinars. We've already had the initial phone call with the department heads, so that I can give them the outline of what I'll be presenting, and then answer their questions, and I'm able to integrate a few of the things that they're concerned about with their employees. So it'll be their sales and marketing team. And it's basically going to be kind of like a LinkedIn 101, 201, and then then we're probably going to hit it up to like 550 or something because, just going over the basics of their LinkedIn profile and then how they can optimize it and just dive a little bit deeper and then utilize that LinkedIn profile so that they can have, gain more clients, reach more people, expand their network, that type of thing. So I'm really excited about that project. Yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Karen, how about yourself? How do people get a hold of you? And also, would love to hear something exciting that you're working on.
Sure. And then I also want to, I don't know that we have enough time. We do on the Business Radio X end, but Mark, you're kind of monitoring the questions. I know when Daryl and Sean and I can't see them because they're too far away from us, or at least Karen can't because she's 56 years old and her eyes don't go that far. But I want to make sure we had a chance to answer the questions. And if not, maybe somebody could copy for it. Carmen can copy it for us, and Kitty and I can get back to people individually. So I'll just throw that out there because I know that's typically your format, but we changed things up a little bit today. So what are we working on? I'm collaborating with a couple other professionals here in the Valley, and we're starting an opportunity to help nonprofits have more of an opportunity for people to not only financially contribute, but get to know them so they can help people further their mission. And it's going to be called 100 Businesses That Care, Valley of the Sun, or Phoenix. If you're familiar with the 100 Women Who Care here in the Valley, I've been a member of the Awatuki Giving Circle for 2 years now. And I went to Jacqueline Destrumps and said, how do we do this for businesses? So we're going to be launching that in October, which I'm very excited about. And then Axiom Coaching is my new coaching name for my coaching practice. And alongside that, we're going to start doing some networking. I don't want to network just the traditional way people network. There has to be that soulful piece in there, again, without scaring people away. So we're kind of still working on the dynamics of that, but look forward to staying in touch with Phoenix Business Radio X or me on social media for both those announcements. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I haven't quite wrapped my brain around Twitter. Never have. I've given up on it. I'm not even going to try. But look for us at Phoenix Business Radio X, as well as Karen Nowicki. I do have a KarenNowicki.com website. We're just kind of working on it. It's not great yet, but it's out there. And then
I know a great editor when
and she already knows. She already knows. Yes.
Shameless plug. No problem with that, Kitty. That's well done.
That's exactly what it's. And it really. But here's the thing, right? In being authentic and knowing that we're all growing and none of us have this perfect. Go if you're interested. I don't expect that you would be, but go look at KarenNowicki.com. It's not great. It's a work in progress. I don't even have my calendars there yet, but at least I'm like, okay, I need to do this. And sometimes for me, putting it out there before I'm ready shoves me off the diving board. And then I'm free falling. And then I find Kitty and I find Sean and Mark and other people to help me, get the parachute on my back.
Right.
So putting it out there oftentimes for me gets me to the finish line a lot sooner than waiting till everything's perfect. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll be quiet. If you'd like to be a guest on Business Radio X, I know Sean and Mark are always looking for guests, of course, but so am I. I host my own shows. And then I also have, as I mentioned, other clients who do shows. So if you think you might be a fit for Arizona Technology Council or Local First Arizona or Joe Puz with Project Management Office Hours, he's the #1 project management podcast in the country. Feel free to reach out to myself or Daryl. And if you're B2B, a business to business, you need to come be a guest on one of our shows and we can help you figure out which one is the best one. And there's no fee for it. That's very important to say. It is invitation and referral only. And there is never a fee attached. We would love to have you consider having your own show after that. But if you want to just come do a one and done, we'd love for you to be a guest. And that content is evergreen for you and Creative Commons content, and you can use it forever. So open invitation to come join us here in the studio.
That's awesome.
One quick thing there, Karen, because there was a question that came through from Annette, and it was, what's the contact info for the 100 Businesses That Care?
For right now, just email me, if you would, Karen Nowicki 2007 @gmail.com. That is probably the easiest way. So it's Karen, not that Karen. Nowicki, NOWICKI 2007 @gmail.com. And just in the subject line, say you're interested in that, and we'll get you connected. We're launching in October, and it's a phenomenal opportunity for nonprofits and even business owners to get involved and become a community, again, that rallies around the people who need us most. Thank you, Mark.
That's awesome. always been a great impact in our community. Karen, thank you so much for doing so much for the small guys, really helping. And I think the whole spirit of entrepreneurship is growing the fastest I've seen it. And especially after COVID, I think a lot of people decided to kind of jump and build their dream business or whatever they're passionate about. So all of what you do, I think, is just designed to help, people self-actualize and bring their dreams to or do something that they're passionate about.
May I add to that?
Absolutely.
We have time.
Yes.
So Kitty was.
You were in charge of this show.
No,
So
you should
we'll be
never
very
put
lucky.
never put me in front of a mic.
Yes.
Kitty and actually all three of you kind of alluded to this when we talked about entrepreneurship and business ownership, and sometimes how people really struggle to ask for help. And I'm not a statistics numbers person, so I can't give you the numbers, but I know that there are a lot of studies about the personality and the characteristic of an entrepreneur and a business owner. And part of, I think, why a lot of us struggle to say, I need help, is that we think we're terminally unique, and we are unique, but we're not terminal. And so when we have to ask for help, and I have many clients in my life who've been like this, or they just, even while they're paying me big money to coach them, they still have a hard time asking for help. So I teach them how to do that because they feel like I learn differently, I process differently, I'm ADHD, I go through depression, like I have all these things that I don't want everybody to know. And not only that, I don't work like normal people. And so therefore, I don't want to give you a peek behind the curtain. And what we are saying here today, let us take a peek behind the curtain because we're all the same. We are all unique and none of us are terminally unique, right? And the reason why many of you, and I'm not saying everybody, but maybe you listening today might be one of these folks who have been afraid to ask for help because you just know that you function differently. We're saying, hooray, that's going to be your greatest gift, that you do things differently. That's likely part of your story and your passion and purpose and mission. And if you're not telling that and leading with that and acknowledging it, you're likely stumbling and struggling and having a difficult time getting, as Sean just said, to where you want to go and meeting all those goals success-wise.
I read this somewhere that if you're not weird, you're weird. So
I also want to say just really quickly that I have a lot of people who are afraid to ask for help with the editing part because they think, like I kind of mentioned earlier about the voice, changing the voice, they're afraid I'm going to take their baby, what they consider their baby, and really change it drastically in a variety of ways. And I think that finding the right editor, just as you would the right person to help, whoever that might be, bookkeeper, whatever, is really key. So getting to know someone and hearing their voice while still asking for their help, I think is also really integral to growing.
One other thing to add on that, I think we're just going to be keeping I did improv up until the pandemic started, so I'm going to just yes and you there. And I also wondered too about judgment. Right? Are they worried about like, oh, well, this isn't great. I want to make it look a little nicer before I hand it over to you. So that's it. And then just if I could kind of repeat what I shared already. And I remember a couple of years ago, I had all these blog posts written. I had them about 80% done. And they were just sitting there. And they were just sitting there. And they were just sitting there. And I ended up working with someone. And he put together this schedule for me. And what happened was I needed to not only get it edited, I needed to select a picture. I needed to make sure that it had a call to action. I needed to make sure that it got on my website. I needed to make sure that it was SEO optimized. Those are all experts. And the reason that you might not be doing something is that you don't even know all the steps that need to be done. And also, it's not just about posting it. It's about getting it to actually do something, right? So as another huge little testament to advantage of the relay race, right? Create some content. Go meet someone that's really good at SEO. Give those keywords over to Kitty. Kitty can then take it. Then you can talk to someone else who does the website design. They could put that on a blog and then share it with you. I mean, this is really what it's about. And this is why, even as a couple of weeks ago when Sean and I were talking, 90% of businesses fail. I mean, I'm talking about a blog post and the challenges that go along with just posting a blog post, let alone all the other things to get a client. right? So, don't be afraid to ask, and also know that there's all these little nuances that get things accomplished and across the line. So thanks. I just wanted to make sure that I reiterated the relay race of what Advantage can really help out and support.
Thank you, Mark. Wonderful. Anyone, any last thoughts before we wrap it up pretty soon?
I would just like to say that I'm glad there was no math involved today, since I like words and letters.
Me too.
I was told there would be no math.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you.
Karen,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Great to have
Our
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So good. Mark, great to see you again.
Yes.
Good to see you guys.
Mark, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Sean. Absolutely, as always. Fantastic. Look
Always
forward to catching up.
wonderful. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. We had the live audience on Zoom and everyone else that will listen to our podcast later on. Appreciate it. Make sure you join us and join our wonderful community. I mean, you saw a small little piece of it here. We have some amazing talents that you can collaborate with. So looking forward to see you guys soon and launching our Business Builder Sprint, which is we're really excited and looking forward to. Thanks so much and take care.